Ready, guys? Rock and roll? Where's your dance move? Let me see your dance move. Yeah, there we go with the waves. Nice.
This is perfect. I'm told my dancing's all shoulders, no hips, which is perfect for Zoom.
There you go. You're gonna do the shoulders, you know. All right. Welcome, party people. Welcome to the show. The cosmic flow. You know how we do it. You know how to do it. I don't know. We're gonna do something with soil and some sort of dough. Can we keep going, Adam? What do you got for me? What rhymes with dough?
Well, some type of dough can always have mo, but be grateful for what you see on the flow in front of you.
Jacki, keep it going.
Oh, I don't know. My mom's washing her hands. It's getting a little loud, but let's everybody be awesome and proud.
Yeah. Charlie, what do you got?
What are we flowing with? Is it just with anything?
Anything. Go.
So excited to be here because with all of you, there's no fear.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, sweet. Let's rock and roll, guys. I mean, Jacki, I can brief you on what Adam does, and Adam, I can brief you on Jacki does, but let's just say we'll kind of figure that out as we go along. Just to give you a quick thing, Adam is doing amazing work with sustainable impact. Maybe that's not even the right word, sustainable. Like he's doing a lot of things with storytelling around food and where food comes from, and bringing it to high school kids and teenagers and youth, along with just general public and local stuff. Jacki is like in the crypto space, NFT. She's like really, really deep in it. One of the female leaders in the world, taking charge. And what's awesome is she's in Buffalo, so we get a cool Buffalo perspective from
New York.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. And so we're gonna have people coming in and out over the next hour. But Charlie, do you want to quickly brief everybody on what the updates are to the deck?
Sure. Yeah. So I think after the last couple of conversations that we've all had, I kind of synthesized a little bit of what I think we've been building ourselves, but kind of reflecting what's going on, I guess, with everybody and what some of their thoughts, what everybody's thoughts are about a way to interact with the four elements with kids. So what I was thinking is kind of like the idea of the ceremony of the sorting hat in Harry Potter, where you really kind of learn that you're part of like a crew. The idea is same thing is like, what if you're gathering this cosmic egg that you start with in the beginning of the experience, right? In a dome, you get an egg, but this egg is based on one of your elements. And so we go through your sun sign, your moon, and your rising. If you have your rising, great. If not, it's fine too. Like we don't need the rising, because I know that it might be difficult for kids to have like their birthday. So understanding that like what we can get out of it is like the sun and moon for sure. Rising, if not, like this is the next part where we get to let kids choose, right? Because I think it's more powerful to allow them to kind of choose what house they eventually want to be part of. But when you first start, it's good to kind of say, here are like the elements that you're probably very connected to. And it's very much what happened with like Harry Potter, where he was like, you're Slytherin or Gryffindor, but I think you'll do better in Gryffindor, right? Like, so we can say these are the elements that you do well with, but you should probably pick, and then the child can pick the element. And this is really kind of the same thing with the House of Gryffindor. You enter the 4 element houses. And so once you get your egg, then behind the egg, it would be your birth chart or your natal chart. So yeah, you can go to the next one. So imagine the idea that this is kind of like the idea of a passport, where in any kind of experience, you know, you kind of have like boxes, and then you kind of stamp your box when you go somewhere. So instead of that, maybe this is where we can, because astrology is also really simple if you look at it through the 4 elements rather than looking at it through a base 12. It's like saying, instead of saying we're talking base 12 language, it's like saying base 4 language, which is the 4 elements, and it broadens it out. And then you have more of like, oh, all the fire signs, we're like brothers and sisters together, and it brings that similarity of the elements together.
And we talked about that with Adam, right? Adam, the kind of like letting the kids be do you remember that with the tribes?
Yeah, and as we're thinking through kind of the different activities that we do, being with your people and also being with other people and seeing how different, basically trying on those different hats, those different lenses. So as you're going through an experience through the lens of water, you're also connecting with someone who's going through that same experience through the lens of fire. And how do you look through the different activities we're doing through that lens?
Hey, Miss Tizzle, we're going just real quick because I probably want to catch you up on the beginning part of this is kind of like the whole theme, the overall kind of putting it all together. But you start with the experience, like every kid picks up a cosmic egg based on their elements, but you also pick it based on which your sun sign or your moon sign or rising. But then from there,
Charlie, let me add on there too, that when what we're talking about too, so you guys have reference, is that we're gonna have physical things. Those eggs are gonna be physical eggs. Either they're like physical eggs of earth, fire, water. So the kids get to basically be putting things in their gift bag, like a kitty bag, you know, that kitty bag will have physical things in it, along with, you know, this chart, this constellation chart they can stamp, or we can look at it different ways. NFT, this could be how we make the NFT as well, but that's.
Yeah, it's getting there. So here is then to basically to unlock the egg that you picked up, whatever element it is. In the back of it would be your chart, but it's not colored in. So you will look at it, and we'll go over kind of the different major. It could be like 7 or 10 planets, depending on what we want it to kind of work out. Because you'll see how it plays out, but it's really based on how many play shops we have. It will change, because now we know we're in a constraint of time. We're trying to be realistic, but like being very impactful to the people that do show up. So this is where we get to really build in the growth of the project based on this chart. So here is kind of where kids are going to use this to gather the elements in each of the charts. So if like I'm a sun, Virgo, and I have like 3 planets in Virgo there, then I want to probably do 3 play shops that have earth elements, because I need to basically activate my planets using mana from the play shop. So you go to a play shop, and then the next one, we've actually been building these out, and we thought of different ways to use it, but this is actually a great way of using them. Is we built these kind of cardboard type material, right? And they're cut out of the 5 elements, the 5 elements. So you can see on the bottom right here is the triangle, which is the fire. The square is earth, and the water is on the left, the 6.
Based on the platonic solid.
Yeah. So you could also kind of connect them like a Lego-esque experience. So these tokens are both like fun to play, because right there you can just put them together and do something really interesting. But they're like like physical manifestation of the elements. So there's always this confirmation of like, you're learning about the elements. Remember the platonic solids play a big part in it, because that explains actually why water becomes ice crystals, and ice crystals look like hexagons, because they actually follow their platonic solid shapes.
Or crystals in like actual crystals, right? Whether it's like pyrite or amethyst or what, why did they show up?
Yeah, quartz crystals. Yeah, so good. To the next slide. So this is where the idea now is, when we've been talking about all these interactive play shops, they play really well in us kind of continuing how we've been gathering play shops, but maybe now we have a little bit more intention of like recognizing where we need to balance it out. Because what happens when people show up, we might naturally have like a lot of earth and fire element, because we're probably go-getters, right? And we'll probably need some more water element. And what will happen, we'll naturally not pay attention to that sign. But now knowing that like we're paying attention to the 4 elements, it's important to then bring out like, how do we bring out more water shop experiences, anything that is more nurturing or supporting the values that are more like healing. And that's kind of where you go into the healing space and emotions. So this is now where what we'll do with all the different play shops that do show up, that do get realized, and we kind of like able to kind of finalize for the event. We can then have give them, depending on their elements, give them these little tokens that we've made, so that they can give to every kid that showed up at the play shop these little tokens. And so now at the end of the day, depending how many play shops they've gone to, they've picked up these little elemental mana.
So do you guys have any questions or thoughts really quick right here? Yeah, go ahead, Jacki.
Okay, so I'm just thinking, Charlie, as you're talking, because the one thing I've been thinking of the most is, what if kids don't have cell phones? If we want to do anything with NFTs, what if they don't have a cell phone? So if, as they're going through these, earning these tokens, is there any way that we could have a QR code on the token where they could redeem an NFT later, and the NFTs would be like listed on Solana, they would be free, but only that QR code would match to that link?
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great idea. So kind of what I'm actually trying to build to is, I know that they don't have a cell phone, so I'm still kind of playing with the idea of like physical representation of things. But then at the end, actually this chart will become an NFT of themselves. And that's actually creating like more like.
So that's the next level thing.
Yeah.
Like Charlie and I had this breakthrough the other day when we had a meeting, was like, wait, their chart could be their wallet key.
Like their seed phrase?
Yeah, and then the astrology. Well, we probably don't want that, because then somebody just get your birthday and get your code. But
the next
which
quiz
I'm
would
sure
come
all
out.
of us are putting on birthday and on passwords anyways.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm kind of building it up to something like that. So the passport itself is kind of how they keep track of their own astrology, but then the play shop gives us an idea of the different experiences that we can have. That's also realistic. Like, how does someone who has water element in their chart end up, finding some career jobs that they love doing, and we'll notice usually that like nurses and people who take care of other people do really well in those. If you don't like people, don't try it, guys. Like, it's not fun for the people who like expect, emotional support, and you have, and we've dealt with that in some of the, like, as a healing practitioner, I've had run-in people who like don't care about the people that they're healing. You're like, what are you doing here? You should probably, somebody should probably said, you're not enough of a water sign to like really like people. Like, even though you can figure out what's wrong with them, your interaction with people makes them, it hurts them. And so if we understood that,
this is also very like experimental too, because we've barely done this as adults, let alone with kids, right? So we're gonna find out what's gonna happen when we start to play with these tribes, right? Earth, wind, fire, water. How do people fit in? And then how do like you said, Adam, when we bring them together from opposite, what happens? Like, how do they coordinate? How do they team up? And then maybe, Adam, that's something to think about. Maybe a possible play shop is solutionary thinking. Like, because I do this with a lot of teenagers that I've worked with this past couple of years, is I have them like think about and heartstorm ways we could fix the community, ways they can help the community. Like, nobody ever asked them how they could do that, but we can see it. We can play with that too, that space.
Yeah, and the benefit
of
kind of with kids is they don't BS you.
So go ahead, Adam.
Sorry, just the beauty of doing this with kids and experimenting with this with kids is that inviting them into that process of we are creating something here. They're not going to BS you. Like, if this is not lighting them up, if this is not just fun, adults can tell themselves the story of, oh, it's worth it. Like all this will be good for some future thing. This has to be like lighting people up to be doing, like the means can't just be for some end. So yeah, it's great. It's perfect.
Charlie, you
Yeah,
got
so-
more?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to go through it quickly. We can go back. So the play shops was something that, like, when we wanted to start talking more about like finalizing some play shops, we can kind of go through that. Go on to the next one. But this one was another idea of play shops that we thought about in the past. So this is now with vendors. This is a great way where we've talked about this with Adam the other time there too, like the idea of quest. I think vendors are great like apprenticeship opportunities, or even just volunteer manpowers like at farms. So what if like the farmers supported us with food, but then from there it's like, hey, like once a week for like 6 hours, like kids come out to learn and help like pull weeds, like because everybody like needs help in that. But then maybe picking some fruits too to help pick fruits, and then the kids can take home some fruits as well. So that's a way to then bring the people in the community who are actually doing real things with children and connecting them here with and they could be like quest givers. So they could also give the idea of mana, but they're specifically like in Pokemon, the idea that when you wanted to get like a water badge, you had to go and get Pokemon who were in the water. So this idea of the 4 elements works out too, is these real world location of quest givers. So like if you had like a marketing company, they'd be great for air elements where people are all about writing and making marketing posters or infographics, right? It's all about communication. Indeed.
I
Let's go
love
to
the
next.
idea. Really quick, I love the idea of putting vendors through like a sorting hat.
Yeah, exactly. Because then it really makes it easier for like, I don't know, sometimes to work. I think for me, I was a Virgo, I'm like trying to find a way to organize all of us in like being able to become self-sustaining, right? And then understanding who we are very quickly.
And that's an important thing, because we only have like two things really quick I want to hit on. Number one, we talked about simplifying this first one and maybe not having it be in 4 domes and focusing the glass floor of like, hey, let's see if we could do something just in 1 dome and have vendors outside and start from that place, just to simplify it for ourselves so we don't overcomplicate it. But on the other context, being that we're interested in these vendors to come in and the sorting hat, start like all of y'all, Jacki, you're like in the crypto space, Adam, you're in the sustainable action space, right? The climate action space. So what are some vendors we can start already inviting into the space? What element do they fit into, right? So I start thinking about who fits these spaces too.
Yep. So go ahead and go to the next one. So so now on the left side, you kind of have the mana points, tokens, and then in the middle, the ether is really the heart space. And so when you combine that, that actually is what feeds the egg to actually hatch, right? So it's almost kind of like the experience that you gain makes your animal spirit egg hatch. I can't say anything. So the reason why I just think, because baby animals are super cute, so everybody could appreciate that. Go to the next one. So at the end of the experience, at the end of like the 4 or 5 hours that the kids have had experiences, depending on what element you are, you have a baby animal based on that element, right? And so now it's almost kind of like we're kind of like externalizing a connection with divine energy using kind of like these baby eggs, right? And so they're taking care of themselves. The children are kind of like, oh, I'm gonna take care of this animal, as if that's a version of them, because to unlock it, you had to unlock your own natal chart. So go to the next one. So now it's the idea that we used to have these in like Marvel cards or baseball cards. You have kind of like a pose or someone like doing your sport really well, and then in the back you'd have the different stats, right? Even Pokemon cards or anything like that. So in the front of this card could be, and so we can do this in like, I'm sure either the yoga will pick it up or somewhere in the Reiki, like having like the movement that really activates the animal. So let's say I'm baby eagle, right? Like I can do like baby eagle movements to activate my baby eagle. And so I can like pose, and that could be like the front of my my card. Yeah. So go back to the, yeah. So now like this kid could be like a very strong earth sign, Taurus energy. It's like, yeah, I know how to grow fruits and vegetables. That could be like his pose of like, look, all these great vegetables I've grown. And then the bottom right will be the egg, that spirit animal that came out of the egg. And then the back would be their natal chart, but maybe color coded. So it could be actually, the idea is every time the kid activates one of these elements based on the play shop, they could actually color code in this triangle. So that as they add color, they're like,
Charlie, I got an idea on that to plan, and maybe Ilea has something on with that too. But like thinking about how like, what if we, because it's really easy for me to get like stamps made for the facilitators, right? And what if this facilitators had a stamp, and the kids at the beginning got their chart printed at the beginning, like at the front or whatever, or even before they come, or when they come, and what happens is they have to fill out that chart to match the chart they got printed, right? Their card. And so the facilitators could be the one stamping, you know, once they complete like my play shop, they come to my play shop, boom, I stamp it, you know, they go to Ilea, bam, she stamps it, right?
yeah. So I was thinking, I had some of those thoughts too. We have to make sure though that like you want their chart to already kind of be there, because it's really hard. I've seen even adults do it. Transposing a chart is super difficult. I thought it was easy. It is not easy. I've done it, sat there for an hour, like going, how did you, wait, where did you, like they create new charts. You're like, where did these lines come from? Hold on, no, hold up. So actually the easiest way is like more like think coloring book mentality. So the chart will already be filled out, but like to add color and to bring it alive, adding stickers. I love the idea of stickers though. Yeah. Because I don't want it to be really difficult then for the play shop person to kind of go, I know nothing of astrology, I can't do it. I don't want them to actually feel that way, right? So it's a way to like, how do we add something that gives back a lot to the kids, but is not a lot on the teacher that's to bring out the play shop, because we're not trying to add a very complicated system for them to go, I don't know this, I don't want to teach, right? Like it has to feel very natural and go, oh yeah, this makes sense that this is all about air or earth. Does that make sense? I thought about that, but yeah, so that's one way of doing it. But we can definitely hard store more ideas on how to do this, but this is kind of where this is like one way I thought is the best way to create a like a way for the kids to really do like a chart, like a, not a chart, but a, you know, like a task list on actually quest on like figuring out who they are. And we're basically playing out those roles. So yeah, so this is just kind of summarizing some of the stuff that we've said already. So the cryptocurrency, this is the conversation that like we can open that further when the teenagers. So with this card, like for teenager kids, that's a very different conversation where we can even open up the cryptocurrency. You know, I mean, if kids can have lemon stand and make money on the street, like kids should be able to make money based on what they can do. Who said lemonade stand is the only thing they can do, right? So let's really like break some old traditions, but like give them like, so this is where I think cryptocurrency for like the teenage audience is great, because maybe going to work for themselves or with the family is a great opportunity rather than going to college, right? So, and then with the younger audience, you know, we can figure out maybe like hobbies that they might like, that will keep helping them lean into these, what they're good at already, or weaknesses too.
So I was like so lit up when you planted the seed last week, and it ties to this, around the quests and rewarding teens and how you can earn by not just doing some thing on the side, but this can be at something that actually you generate income doing. It's almost like heart-centered internships where you're paid in crypto, and the companies are, yeah, they're issuing these quests for you to do, and call it your quest is your internship project. Your quest is, but this is like if this is your 4-week project, well, each week as you're completing you have micro goals, micro steps along the way, you're earning as you go, and as you're going along that quest. Yeah, and it's like Pokemon Go. You got people out in the world doing their thing, but they're earning, they're earning as they're on these quests, and they're heart-centered quests. And and if they're broken down in terms of sign, there are certain types of quests that you might be drawn more toward. So if you're the student on this side, you can more easily find quests that will speak to you because you've gone through this whole experience where you now have a better understanding of your superpowers and what lights you up.
And it's kind of like a very honest resume, right? I mean, for the soul.
Go ahead, Jacki. What were you gonna say?
Yes. So one thing that has been coming to me lately, when we first did the program with the Salvation Army, we knew we couldn't like have money involved or like anything that would be turned into securities or whatever. But a governance DAO is totally, you can do that. You can have tokens that are just sheer governance, and there's no money exchanged. And it just got me thinking, like with a DAO, the biggest thing we talk about is organizational behavior. The technology is one thing, but it's really how do we it's like a company, it's a business. How do we organize all these things? So if our premise here is using like natal charts to sort of like give avatar identifiers, I suppose, your digital twin of who you are, could that, and then eventually making that your governance token. So if the governance token is actually like if that's the reward, like you do all these play shops, but then that token, like you're like this whole ID finally that can now participate in like voting or whatever. But what's actually more interesting than any of that to me is the data you would get out of how like a fire sign makes a decision, or just like the politics of a DAO, like based on people who actually know themselves. So that's like really interesting, especially with teenagers who are like Adam was saying, just naturally more open. I was definitely more, I don't know, personally tied to things when I was a teenager than I am now. So I don't know, just to me, every time I talk about crypto, all roads lead to DAO, as we say with most of me and my Web3 friends.
That is a very exciting thought for me around, more or less, the more you give, the more you contribute to this collective, the more voice you have in terms of where you'd like to see things go with this collective. That piece is, yeah, that is an exciting food for thought.
Well, and it achieves two things. Like on one hand, it deepens engagement, but on the second hand, something that's becoming more clear to me through this Web3 journey is, most of the time people want to protect their image or protect themselves. And so they don't want to share information because if other people have information about me, then they might use it against me or something like that. But in actuality, a lot of us that go through this spiritual path, we come to this knowing that, man, the more I give away, the more people seem to tend to the needs I have because I'm just putting them out there, and someone somewhere, so we're actually training all of us to be more open and to just keep giving more because you will get more from that. So anyway, mic drop.
Yeah, I
That
play
hit-
that a lot with that whole vulnerability, right? Like the idea of that vulnerable space. But that vulnerable space actually gives you also the ability to shine in your own personal light, right? We talk a lot about this whole ego thing, and you have to kill it and you have to go away from it. It's like actually that ego is the container that we use to actually experience what we're meant here to experience, right? And so I think it's really like astrology is kind of brings it back to balance. Like, no, everything is here for a reason. Stop throwing things away. Like, they just put it back in balance and see kind of like once, like what I'm excited about is we are the pinnacle of most industries are going to get rewritten, right? Because of technology, what we're remembering. If you're saying consciousness is waking up and we're remembering things from like thousands and thousands of years ago, yeah, like mind blown, right? So, what's most important is giving each other like the what I call the cliff notes to this video game first, experience, so that we can own up to who we are first, vulnerability and all, right? And that's our strength too. Actually, it's this, the vulnerability gives us strength. That's actually the same same coin to the same sides to the same point or something, right? But and that I think is where the astrology kind of allows us to like lean into who we are more. But when we have weaknesses, we're not afraid of it, because a lot of times it's when like we have fear of our weaknesses, we hide things, we're not, want to share it. But sometimes you're like, hey, I have a weakness. It happens to have the opposite energy, which is a fire sign. So I need a fire person to get me out of it. Like, it's giving, people like tools inherently in like, okay, the 4 elements and how they like kind of help each other out, but then don't support each other this way. Like, you can make up new solutions in life, right? Because everything's based on these interaction of these different energies together.
Okay, so do we have any like ideas or suggestions? Or have you guys been meditating on this? Is anything you guys want to bring up? Yeah.
Just really quickly, I would say for me, if anyone is interested in this DAO concept, it's really not hard to put a DAO together. And there's actually an app called Upstream. I just learned of it, and I just talked. Well, actually, I had a colleague talk to the founder, and I'm going to talk to him next week. But I downloaded the app already, Upstream, and like just having it on the phone, not even joining anything yet, I was like, oh wow, they just made a social media DAO, and this is like going to change the game of how people interact in a DAO. So it's not hard to do. I just want to, Charlie, I know you're in this like field and everything too, but just for everybody out there, it sounds like a DAO would be a tough thing to put together. It's not. The tools are where they need to be at this point in my mind. So
Yeah, we should definitely look into it.
yeah, Upstream is dope.
I was just checking that out the other day because the founder, like and we am connecting on LinkedIn. I was like, what is this? Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, Seth, he's cool. He's your type of dude, Indy.
Thought so.
I mean, we can probably do something more technical on the next, next meeting. But like, I think for now it'd be a good idea to just do some brainstorming on just the type of heartstorming of the different play shops that I think we've come up with already. Some people have already offered, and how that fits in, and see kind of like where are some things that we could add in. And we've also talked about different things like crystals, if we wanted to give crystals to kids for certain play shops, depending on what the play shop is. So if there's some ideas to like what we could come up with to, for them to have in a goodie bag at the end of the experience.
Hey, Charlie, real quick, how long are play shops estimated to last, and how many are kids doing in a day? Or how long is this festival? Maybe I should get some logistical information.
The intention is for it to start in the morning-ish, like 9, 10, something like that, something easier so that it's not traffic is not an issue. And then for this is where we're kind of like we haven't fully gotten a commitment from any foster spaces. Some of you guys saw Jen a few weeks ago. She works with the foster system like hardcore. She's like fostered like 20 something kids. She's really big in LA. There's another couple of organizations I'm in talk with that can bring in foster kids. So that's going to depend. It's going to tell us like what ages. Right. Once we know what ages, ideally it'd be cool to do from morning to like early evening. That's the intention. Play shops could be anywhere between 30 minutes to 90 minutes. 90 minutes is long, right? Like that's maybe if there's something, but 30 to hour is the best with kids, right? Like, cause it's their attention is so tiny, right? So 30 to,
So
yep.
kind of like each kid might get, call it 3, show up, and then you get like 2 play shops, lunchtime, 4 play shops, and either you're going home or dinner time, or
Yep.
like we have like a culmination.
Yeah, we definitely want to be sacred about it. Like when they come in, there's some sort of like sacred ceremony at the beginning. We do that. Even the lunch is sacred, right? We talked about that. Adam is adding some spirituality to that. And then at the end, finishing it with some sort of sacred ending, a completion.
So Charlie, you planted a seed today that has my mind shaken up in a good way, where, because I'm most certainly learning right now in terms of different signs and all that stuff. And so water signs versus fire versus like the different types of play shops that one might be drawn toward. And so call it the heart setter, not go, go, go. But like the more sit back, get inner play shops. I think I have a natural proclivity for those because I think that's because I'm a water sign. What are the other, if you could just share with me, that'd be really helpful for me. What are the other types of play shops, like vibe wise, that the other signs might be?
Yeah, so it's really about the temperament and the personalities, but it's also like what your body feels too. So fiery stuff is like a lot of physical activity. That's why you sweat, because you build up a lot of fire in your body. So that's why movements are really good. But it's also like competition, like fire signs like that competition versus and so that you could do like the idea of like cops, right? Military, on both male and female, but like that protection energy, that's very fiery energy. Versus like if you wanted more bodyguard or more of a healer with plants, like bodyguards are like the bigger, tougher guys, but like they're usually gentle giants, right? And they usually, for some reason, like gentle giants, and then the ones who like the bulls work on the land, they love taking care of plants and flowers. So earth signs are very practical. It's all about like, so the physical labor is not the like showing off, very energetic, but like really bulky type person who's like every day working on the land and loves being in nature and loves being like, they look like a giant tree sometimes. Like the energy matches like what people naturally look like. Also, air signs are very they love information. They're usually good at like teacher type energy, right? Because they love to like, I learned something today, and they share it with everybody. So communications, marketing, fashion, or singing sound, right? Air sign. And then water sign is about the nurturing, the healing, the emotions, but water energy, right? Like the idea of even drinking water, and then water magic, because I mean, a lot of magic is actually developed in the water space. Because the other ones are like different offsets of it, but like to me, I think where water energy comes in is really building the spells. Like the power of the spells is a lot of with the magnetic energy that water signs carry.
So
yeah,
that breakdown is so helpful, because so the conversation was happening like 5 minutes ago around like vulnerability, and that is a part that I've been meditating on around how vulnerability leads to resilience, and how having kind of heart-centered ways of engaging where you're able to like that labyrinth where you're able to go in versus then go out. But that going in require like how to have that going in. Is that only a water sign, air sign type play shop, or are there fire earth type play shops that can facilitate that going in experience?
so actually so the four elements actually is just one way of expressing them, but they're in nature are rarely by themselves. They're actually always engaging and interacting. So in Taoism, culture of the East Orient, TCM, the four of them are always there. It's just if the two of them become deficient, one becomes strong, depending on the season too, then that one just becomes the leader of the hill at that moment. And but all of them are still always there, right? And so it's because what's happening in your body is if one is out of order, they start to make other things out of order, and then it creates great deficiency that creates symptoms in your body. So the same idea even in like information, right?
Mhm.
So also the idea of the labyrinth is actually it's in breath, out breath. And that means take in information and express your energy, and then take in information, express energy. So that's actually just the movement, the sine, cosine waves of just polarity of yin yang is the cosmic labyrinth. And then when that labyrinth comes out, it expresses into the four colors, four elements. It's kind of like how we express energy. So the four element is kind of like, think of it as like the color of the paint that we're gonna paint things in. But the labyrinth in is like us studying things. Like a play shop is actually the in breath. When we say kids now do something with that, that's the out breath.
Mm.
All right, and together
That's like how we're absorbing.
Is you have to do the out breath, and that's the idea of the cup emptying itself. The idea that like wise people always say your cup is full of ideas, but you never expressed it, so you can't add more water into your cup.
Yeah.
So you need to empty it out. And one of the things we do that is actually by expressing energy. So when we say stop doing that, you're telling someone to stop expressing energy. And over time, this is why we don't act the way our chart is.
Mhm.
Because we've been told too many times, don't act. Like telling a fire sign, hey, be quiet. Maybe, you know, in public at the library, but most of the time you can't tell a fire sign to be quiet. They're just adding more gasoline. You just threw like a gasoline bomb at their face and they'll be quiet. Like they need to be very expressive of energy.
So it's creating containers to, I mean, when I say vulnerability, kind of pulling off those layers and like fully expressing yourself, it's in these play shops, creating that container for you to microdose being your fullest self, so that when you leave this, you're more resilient because you've had that experience where you can now find other containers or create other containers through these quests and others to continue to breathe your fullest expression.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly. And also, you know, in like working in like groups of children and teenagers, right? When we embody those whatever we want to microdose them on, right? Like whether it's like fire, earth, or whatever if we embody it well, it starts to give more permission to a few of them, and the few of them that start engaging in that way, microdosing with that superpower, the other ones start seeing that, and it creates like this cascading way, like domino effect. But it's funny, right? Because a lot of them haven't accessed it, so that's why it's important for us to embody it. So when we are doing the fire, we have to like tune in to the fire and then, you know, share that with them.
And it's also help create ways to bring out energies at different times. You know, I think too many times, like I'm an Aries, I can be boisterous and loud and obnoxious all the time. I mean, yes, when we play sports, not all the time, because no one wants to be, you know, so then we, you know, that's why the whole idea of like, look somewhere on your chart to go, where are you quieter, and tune into that. Because you're not an Aries, or sun, whatever, all the time. You have your moon that can kind of tell you, hey, during quieter time. So that's why vulnerability is a lot of like being able to go introspectively. So the idea of why it's a water sign is because the water is the greatest mirror, right? Is if you have a water and you're sitting at it still, it mirrors back everything at you. And that's why water signs tend to be really good mirrors of emotions. So vulnerability is a way to like see that like deeper pain that causes then the imbalance in your 4 element energy in your body.
Hey, is
It's gonna be an
birthing
awesome
water?
event.
Oh, go ahead, Adam.
Josh just saying this is going to be an awesome event.
For us too.
Yeah.
That's
Oh yeah. Even though, but that's even this process right now, this conversation, this is not just some means to an end. This is also breathing life into all of us. So that's part of it.
Syrissa, are you there? Would you say that birthing or like doulaing is a water thing?
Hey, hey. Yeah, I was thinking that too when you were talking about it. I would think so in my mind, just because of the emotion, the fluidity. Water carries memory. What are you doing with your DNA? You're transferring your DNA and your memory into this new soul, this new being. So, yeah, in my eyes, I would definitely think that flows right into water. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ooh.
I guess it is 4 elements. You're right.
Technically, yeah, it is all 4. But if we had to, I was trying to, if we needed to break it into one thing, you know, because life is everything, you know, so it's hard to break that up into something,
Yeah.
into one category. Yeah. Yeah. And side note, I'm in the car right now, so if I go in and out, apologies. But as a little update, I was hitting up multiple midwives and birth education people, things like that. So doing my best to put together like little snippets of them in video form, so we could show that as well, and have different representations from different cultures and how they perceive birth and death, right? Because they're the same. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, if you get that to me, if you give me some video footage like that, Syrissa, with enough time before the thing, I can even get it. I can get it stitched together, and so it can be in the 360 dome. Like the multiple videos could be playing in the dome. So
Amazing. You got it. I'm on it. I'll try to get it to you ASAP. When I have it, I'll forward.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Any other ideas, thoughts? Ilea, we haven't heard from you. I haven't heard your amazing voice and power.
Hi, my loves. Happy Sun's Day. I'm just listening because I'm catching up from last week still. But the only update I currently have is regarding the students at Cal State Long Beach that are the art education students who will be doing like the art part. I've invited them to come to the Zoom call. So I don't know if it's going to be next week or the week after, but I wanted at least 1 or 2 of the students who are going to be there to like listen in, to like synergize and really lock into what it is we're doing, because the art activities will be based off of what we're all doing. So it's not some rando, like we're going to make still lives. Right? Like, no offense against still lives, but like, that's not the vibe, right? And so I feel like once we get a better idea, because I told them about like the four domes, because that was the last thing I heard. So they started like making things like, ooh, we could do this for like the fire people, we could do this for the water. And so I told them just to calm down because they were really excited. But once they can sit in on a call and like hear everyone, then it'll all just like link up and be powerful. But everything I've been seeing, like with the heart storming and the egg, that the game, it's like D&D but like real life. And like as an adult, it's like this cross section of like, oh my God, I'm literally about to be real life cosplaying, but like real life, like real life, like not just because it's Comic-Con or WonderCon, but like this is just me, and I'm here, and I'm about it. So I'm just excited to be in the space of being able to tell people like, yes, I'm a high priestess, astrological extraordinaire, and these are my superpowers. And say it with such nonchalant. Like, I have a quick story. So last week, I was in Ojai at a healing circle, Black Circle now. I'm in talk about them coming too. But anyway, I was told at this space that there's a portal somewhere in Ojai, and that one of my team members, Irisha, has seen like chupacabras, like fucking 10-foot buck, like a pair come out. So she just tells me this, and like she's an elder, so I'm like, dude, holy what? So we finish, everybody leaves, and then me and my girlfriend Gwenna, who has the vegan food bank, we're about to leave the Ojai Foundation, and before we get out to the main road, I'm like, dude, do you want to go look for this portal? And she's like, yes. And I was like, awesome. So Irisha said that the portal, and this is, I'm not making this up. She's like, yeah, so when you find the portal, it's right before, or yeah, the portal's right after you get to the happy place. This is how she says it, right? So then we start driving down this random ass back road in Ojai, and I'm like, all right, I have no signal. And then I'm like, oh, this is the same place we went where we got lost the first time we came down to Ojai. And she's like, I don't know, you should just keep going. I'm like, okay, kept going. So then all of a sudden we break out into this area, y'all, there's like this off-grid community we came up on. And I was like, yes, oh my God, I want to live here. This is amazing. So we're like cruising. We're like, dude, is this real? Like there's like fruit trees everywhere. And I was like, oh, dude, those oranges are probably like so dank and delicious. Like, oh. And then like we stop and there's a new like off-grid home being built. And I'm just like, dude, we got to find out how to live here. Like, I'm down to drive into LA every day and move into Ojai off-grid. All of a sudden I look and there's a man just appeared outside my window. And he's like, hi. I was like, hey. I was like, I have a random question for you. And I was like, do you know where the happy place is? Just straight up. Like no, just asked it like a real question. He was like, yeah, the happy place is right here in your heart. And then he was like, I was like, oh, that's exactly. And I was like, my friend told me that if there was this portal and that I had to get to the happy place in order to get to the portal. And he's like, yeah, come on in, park. Dude, I parked. I went into a geodesic home that he lives in. We've exchanged information. I literally found the portal. Like, I'll send the picture that we took in the WhatsApp, because there's literally like, he gave us these sticks from Peru that he's been building with children that he's been working with around the world doing play stick activity. Like, I've talked to him about coming to the event. That's what I was doing last Sunday, y'all. Charlie, your face. This is my life, y'all. Like real life. So anyway, I don't know why I started telling that story. Oh, because I'm just going around asking people like, yo, where's the happy place? Because I'm trying to get to the portal. And I asked this total stranger, like it was like, hi, can you tell me how to get to a gas station? But I asked it with that same energy. So I'm excited about just talking to people like this, no matter where I go. That's all.
You totally get the game reference for sure.
Mick, you're here. Mick, yay! Mick, say something. We got 4 minutes.
Hi. Yay, yes. I finally got to part in the road with some reception. So I was hearing this story and being like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. That sounded amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Tizzle. I was like blown away. I'm glad I got to hear that, that journey. Yeah, we're driving back from doing some volunteering, planting trees up at this ranch in Malibu, Santa Monica Mountains. So yeah, a bunch of permaculture peeps up there starting a place, kind of a retreat. So getting the chicken coop set up with some mulberry trees that drop a bunch of good fruits and shade them out. So
Very good.
Yeah, mulberry tree is super important in Chinese medicine. We use it in a lot of stuff. Yeah. Yes.
What do you use it for? And
We use it for some like what we call wind heat. So like when you kind of get a flu, like a hot flu. So like when your body gets kind of hot and starts sweating. So it's used for that, but it's used for different things. It could also be used for like what we call tonify yin or tonifying your liquids. So when you're dry, like your body's dry, because the mulberry are like really black and dark, like it's considered really refreshing to like the moisture in your body. Yeah.
Right, right.
Plus, like the leaves feed silkworm that also is medicinal, but we don't have to go into silkworms.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're great shade trees too. So yeah.
Yeah, they grow wildly here in Texas.
That apparently they grow really well around here too. I never seen them up in north of Orange County, but that's what the instructor was saying, that they're great trees for around here.
I wonder how they also do with the soil. Like, I wonder if they regenerate the soil. That'd be cool to see.
Yeah, well, we planted a moringa tree, which you probably know about, Indy. Right? It's great for, I mean, it's from India, and it's for like toothpaste, basically like a natural toothpaste, or if you like chew on it, it has certain antiseptic qualities. The stems.
Oh no, you're cutting out.
In the soil.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay. It's a,
Mick, you're cutting out. Okay, so to respect everyone's time, and does anybody have any other last things to share or speak about or whatever? Otherwise, we'll talk to you throughout the week. If you guys want to tune in. We're on the WhatsApp thing. So if there's anything you want to share, any content, share it on there. But also we can talk during the week if you want to set up any meetings. Ilea?
My question is, okay, so because I am excited and people who have known me have known, I've been telling them for 2 or 3 years now, like, I'm going to make this school where astrology is going to be the foundation. Like, didn't know, but I've just been throwing it out there. So now I'm like receiving. And I know, I heard you say that we're not going to make this one as big because there's going to be like, I think you said like more in the future. So I'm wondering, like, as I'm gathering people, where am I sending them? Or am I just holding them, like putting them in a little container and say, hey, this is an event I'm working on. I will hit you up when we're ready. Or should I just be like getting everybody on board now? Like, my Leo rising, like, and my Mars and Aries, I need some direction. Like, and I'm very saggy. So I'm like steamy. I'm fire and water, baby. Thank you, Charlie, for the laughing. You overstand.
Yeah, I think we should definitely figure out the details for that.
Strategically speaking, I feel like we're almost at like having a complete vision of what it is, what's going to happen. So I would wait a week or two before really like integrating, but I would keep them on keep a Rolodex. Like for example, I'll tell you, like in my notebook, I have two separate lists going on. One list is potential like play shop people, facilitators, and I have another list of potential sponsors, including like Kiss the Ground. I mean, Farmer's Footprint, Adam, like they're on my list for potential sponsors, right? So I have two of those sets. I haven't reached out to some of them yet because I'm still waiting for us. And also you guys have been showing up. So I want to trying to be decentralized about it. I want to give the precedent to the people showing up. Right. And I feel that's kind of what we want to do collectively, open source. We want to embody it mycelially with all y'all. Right. So we're all showing up. So we should be the plants that should be nourished the most. And the people who show up, because some people, I'll tell you right now, been there so much in my life. After we make everything, it's fucking awesome. People are going to jump in and be like, oh, I'm here. I'm bringing, and they're going to feel like they own it. Right. I want y'all to feel like you own it first. Right. Before we bring in other people who claim to own it. Right. So let's own it together. And then when we bring people on, they can figure out how to configure around what we're bringing to the table.
Yeah, and I think you could also be talking about, just as we're gathering people who kind of want to follow us, I think we can build something on our website to talk about that day specifically. I don't know if we want to separate like the vendors play shop versus like the kids and families in like two different newsletter, or just people who are interested in the whole experience. And then from there, because I think like the idea of a newsletter of like, as we're developing this, to be able to kind of share this, because right now we're kind of beta testing or testing kind of what this experience looks like. But as this, if this does really well, like the goal is to give this opportunity for like more kids, right? So I mean, we're not here to say like only we can throw this together, but like, what if we have a franchisable template, right? Like, so that more kids have access to this, rather than like, whatever corporate structure wants things to be done. So, I think it's for now, I think a good place is, we should probably build something on our website to kind of get people who are interested and start gathering. Because then eventually, I mean, we're putting these online too every Sunday. So eventually this could be its own show where we're talking about education in general, and like what are people doing in education. That could be its own separate like show that was kind of started off from us really having a real honest discussion about education. So, I mean, if you think there's other ideas too, but I think, Indy, what you're saying is, I think, gather kind of your own pile of people until we're ready to open that spout.
Is there a date yet?
No, we haven't gotten a final date from Wisdom yet. So, and Adam, on you being that June 13th was, I definitely have that in my notes. So it'd be cool to make it some day that's not June 13th, so you can come. I'll try for June 14th or 15th, if that's better. Yeah.
I mean, I'm one person. So
But
if I can't come, that also means that one of the high school students that, that's been doing this gratitude-based learning and innovation stuff, they can have an opportunity to lead this.
sure.
So,
But maybe both of you guys can come.
yeah.
That'd be best.
Yeah.
So fortunately, we're in the space right now to coordinate with that. So definitely take that into account. I definitely want you to come, Adam, because you're going to have fun too.
Oh, yeah.
Adam, I wanted to just encourage, if you haven't like looked at your chart, like reach out to any of us here if you want to like deep dive and learn more about yourself, because it's fun.
10,000,000% on that.
It's fun.
Let's put it this way. The last year especially has been, it's been a year. The last 2 years have been some years. And so we're drinking from a fire hose in terms of the world's been flipped on its head like 5 different times. And yes, I've been getting pointed toward exactly what you're talking about. And I think that's an olive branch I need to grab onto.
Go north node, go north node, go.
And Adam's about to be a dad too, a new dad. So that it's going to be helpful for him to get that download.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna suggest if we can all just, I guess, get an idea of our own astrology, and so even understanding that, because whatever play shops or even conversation we have with the kids, we kind of want to, even because then we can take this further, and even within our own group, like think about ways where we can really bring out our own astrology in play shopping, right, and teaching.
So I love that, because the stuff that I do with high school students, we have to make it like intrinsically engaging so that we could then also do that with adults. If our planning process is one that we're getting more deeply connected in our own experience going through this together, that way when we're asking the kids to try this on, it's not just that's the first, like we've experienced the friction of the curriculum together beforehand. So, and then we can empathize with the experience even better.
And
Yeah.
I just want to add, with the college students coming in too, it's so multi-generational what we're doing, which I personally believe is so important because the way we used to learn in communities, it was multi-generational. It wasn't like, are you first graders? Let's just learn together. Are you second? It wasn't like that. It was everybody was learning from everyone. And so you got a little bit of everything.
Everyone was a student and a teacher.
Right. And that's how it's supposed to fucking be.
It's not students and adults. It's everyone's a student.
Adam, are you in LA? Where are you?
So I'm in San Diego and but I was actually supposed to be in LA today and was going to check out the Wisdom, and a friend of mine who I want to bring into this, who teaches song manifestation, and Indy, that's the friend that planted the seed with me. What would happen if you led with love instead of fear?
Right.
But are you in LA? I heard you say Ojai.
I'm in LA, but I drive everywhere. Like my Jupiter's in Sag. Like,
Have you seen her car?
I
Have you
know.
seen her
I
car?
travel.
Have you seen Ailea's car by any chance?
I'm gonna have Indy emails and stuff too, because I'm gonna be in LA in 2 weeks, I think. So I would love to connect.
I would even come to you though with your students because students are
We're all virtual. So all my student stuff is everyone's all over the place.
But you're doing a damn good job because they love you, and for you to be virtual and them loving you so hard, you doing something. I see you. Ooh.
We listen. That's what we do.
This is Sun in Cancer, right?
Yeah, Jacki, will you do me a favor and hug your mom and laugh, and don't let go of her until she laughs, and be like, that was from Indy.
You're goofy. Indy, the one when I stopped in the SJE, she did the laughing exercise.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. She's down. She's a cool lady.
I figured. All right, guys, you guys good? Everybody's complete. Let's rock and roll. Let's rock, roll, earth, fire, water, roll, everything, air. We're good to roll. All right, guys. All right, see you guys. Have a beautiful day. Sleep well, meditate well, connect with the elements well. Send you guys all love.
Lots of love. See ya.
Au revoir, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Love y'all.